Michael Penix got his first start with the Atlanta Falcons and was able to walk out of the stadium a victor as well against the New York Giants. They're going to be going up against the Washington Commanders on Sunday Night Football in Week 17, who had a phenomenal, exciting victory over their division rival, Philadelphia Eagles. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down this Week 17 matchup between the Atlanta Falcons and Washington Commanders. But before we do that, Ryan and I, we want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and we hope that you all have a phenomenal week with your families, and hope it's a lot of fun watching football as well. If you haven't already and you like the content that we put out, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, tackle the bell to get notified when new videos come out, and leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think will win this super important matchup. You know who I will be rooting for already. But Ryan, this is going to be such a fun game. We're actually recording this after the Sunday Night Football game between the Bucs and the Cowboys. So the Falcons, as of right now, are back in the division lead. They control their destiny. And I guess they always kind of control their destiny a little bit. Actually, no, with Washington winning today, not entirely. But they control their destiny now to winning the NFC South, to hosting a home playoff game. Feels weird how excited I am, because part of me doesn't feel like we deserve it. But, hey, we're here. 2 games left. Going to Washington, this is going to be such a tough matchup here, but also the Panthers are going to be a tough matchup of Week 18. So don't get ahead of ourselves. Washington, though, going 10-5. Phenomenal game and comeback in Washington this past week. I know you and I, we were talking about it. Jayden Daniels had a great game, way to lead the team back here. 24 for 39, 258 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks. So it's kind of something we'll talk about. But in general, though, Washington, way to fight, and just good all-around game overall. Offensively, like, all things considered, Philadelphia is one of the best teams. They're a Super Bowl contender. They gave up way too many rushing yards. And I will say, too, I think they benefited from Jalen Hurts getting hurt and leaving the game with a concussion. Who knows what the outcome might have been, but still, injuries happened in the game, and they were able to grind back. And so, Ryan, I want to throw it over to you here within this matchup. It's going to be very interesting overall on how these two teams go up against one another. What do you think is pretty critical for each of the teams going into the Sunday Night Football matchup?
Well, you guys have to keep Jayden Daniels in the pocket, first of all. And this pass rush has been a lot better. But one of the things that I think you guys have done that has helped that is Raheem Morris has kind of unleashed his, I don't want to say containment rules, because I'm not in that locker room. I don't know like the scheme that he's trying to run. But you guys were playing a lot more contain. You were playing a lot more in your rushing lanes earlier in the year, and you just weren't winning your one-on-one matchups. Now Raheem Morris is kind of like, all right, well, let's just let all hell break loose and cause chaos. And teams haven't necessarily been able to take advantage of that. Jayden Daniels is the king of being able to take advantage of that. He thrives in that chaos. And I feel like that is going to be something you guys are going to have to be much more disciplined in, is staying in your rushing lanes. And on the back end, Terry McLaurin, AJ Terrell, that's a matchup I'm very excited to watch. Can they take advantage of or utilize some of their other weapons in this game? Because Terry McLaurin is matched up with AJ Terrell. That's going to be 2 Pro Bowl caliber players going against each other. Can they also run the ball against your guys' defensive line? That has also been better as of late, I believe. And so I think that's going to be really interesting. And then also your offensive line. Can you guys block for Michael Penix? They get a lot of interior pressure, which can be really stressful, especially for a young quarterback who is maybe used to guys flying around the edge in college, but maybe not be quite as used to guys kind of coming up and crowding his space. Will he still be able to step into those throws and whatnot with Daron Payne? And Jonathan Allen is hurt, right?
Yeah,
Jerza Newton is the other guy. Yeah. So with Daron Payne and Jerza Newton crashing down to that interior, how does that fare? And also, you have the rookie quarterback on the road for the first time starting at another team's facility. So I think that's going to be it's going to be a really fun one. This has a lot more playoff implications than I originally thought from a couple of weeks ago when we were kind of previewing this week's games. But I'm really excited. The other question too, Drake London has a hamstring injury. How will that affect him going forward? Will he miss this game? Will he power through it? Those are one of those things. I've torn my hamstring before, and It is one of the most uncomfortable things, but the worst thing you could do is rush yourself back and then re-tear it, because then it just continues and continues. And yeah, I'm not an NFL caliber athlete, but I've can relate to the injury at least. So
so that's going to be that was going to be the first thing that I was going to bring up is Drake London. We need him to play, because one of the very unique things about this matchup is Washington traded for Marshall Lattimore, the former Saints cornerback. They played against us twice already. I need to go back to see exactly when the trade was, but he's gone up against us twice already, and also a bunch in his career as well, being with the Saints. And he's played well. He's one of the better corners in the league. And so if we don't have Drake London, then that means Darnell Mooney's going to be our number one guy. And so he's going to be matching up against Darnell Mooney or then whoever was Benjamin St. Juice. Was that the other guy? I'm trying to
St. Juice is one, and then
so
I almost said Emmanuel Forbes, but he was released.
No, he's with they cut him already. Yeah, so one of the worst picks in recent memory. But I digress. And so it's just going to make it that much tougher for Michael Penix Jr. if you're going to have Marshall Lattimore going up against them. Against your number one cornerback as well. They're going up against your number one receiver if Drake London's out. Hopefully it was just a precautionary thing. Hopefully it was just a little tweak and they're just working on it. And he's going to be healthy and ready to go for Sunday night, because we're going to need him to be in this game as well. Second thing is, I agree with you on what you said, is we're going to have to slow down Jerson Newton and Deron Payne as well, because I feel like if there's a weakness as well, it's going to be our center position, Drew Dahlman. I think our guards play. I like Chris Lindstrom. He's one of the better guards in the league. Matthew Bergeron, he's developing well, but we need to be able to keep developing that pocket in the passing game, because one of the things that we can open things up in the passing game. The Commanders are one of the weaker rushing defenses statistically. They've 30th overall in the league, allowing 137 rushing yards per game. And we're actually, things with Bijan has been clicking pretty well in the rushing department. We're 13th overall in the league, averaging 120, just shy of 125 rushing yards per game. And so we need our offensive line to play well to not only just protect Michael Penix, but we can create these rushing lanes, get a good balance approach going offensively. I think that that's going to be a good recipe for success against this Commanders defense. And so, because even today, as we saw, I know it's just the Giants defense, but even watching Michael Penix, we could just see the overall effect that he had. Kirk Cousins was not mobile at all. So even just his little bit more mobility allows, and his youthfulness allows the defense to have to kind of think a little bit about, could he run? Secondly, though, too, his arm is so much more livelier. He's so much more. He just was more accurate of a passer than what Kirk Cousins has been. That you have to have an extra guy out in the secondary to help protect, make him have to be that much more accurate, because he has such a cannon of an arm.
I forgot how strong his arm was, because I like he got drafted to the Falcons, and we really haven't talked about him since, because Kirk Cousins has been the starter, and and so it hasn't really been a factor. But I forgot the dude, just the way the ball pops out of his hands is just different. And that was one of the things too that I noticed. The Falcons receivers had trouble with drops early on in this game, and it's
line should have been better. Yeah,
I'm not gonna not that it's excusable. You're a professional receiver, you should catch the ball, but it's a totally different. It's a lefty going from a righty to a lefty is different. It takes getting used to. But also, that ball has a tremendous amount of zip compared to Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins throws with great anticipation. He has a good NFL arm. But, it's a totally different animal when Michael Penix is throwing it.
Well, and we have a unique kind of experience, too, with watching Michael Penix. We're and me more so than you. You're more of a Georgia Tech fan. But I'm an Indiana Hoosier fan for my whole life. And so this year, college football-wise, has been fun. But even to Michael Penix will always hold kind of a special place in my football heart, just because he was a quarterback for Indiana for 4 years, and unfortunately he got hurt each year. But when he did play, though, there's a lot of fun memories, and he was such a fun guy to watch. But we've known about him for years now, though, just because of his cannon. And then I'm so glad that he went to Washington and he had the success that he had. It is well documented on my reaction when they drafted Michael Penix, and it was not a very fond one. But now I'm happy on it, because
The Kirk Cousins experiment didn't work.
Well, I think a lot of Falcons fans are happy on it, and I think one thing that's going to make me really happy about this as well, and this is kind of more overall general arching thing. It's just been one game. We don't need to overreact. I don't think he's going to pan out better than Desmond Ridder, because the situation is kind of similar to 2022, where he comes in now trying to save the season and like playing well. It is a very similar situation, but he is so much more talented than him. And so I feel like we do have a quarterback, at least for a little bit longer, than Desmond Ridder's tenure here. But I also hope, though, too, this Falcons team is far from perfect. We do have a lot of other deficiencies, and I think it was great to come out with a dominant win today. The defensive line has been playing better. Defense has been playing a little bit better in general, but particularly on the offensive side of the ball, I'm glad. So we fixed the quarterback problem. Kirk Cousins was not playing well, but I do have a feeling, though, in this game, and it's not going to affect my pick at all, but I have a feeling in this game, though, especially if Drake London doesn't go, we're also going to realize all the other deficiencies that this offense has, because there are some other serious problems on this offense. Particularly, I already mentioned like the center, the offensive line as a whole needs to play better. The Commanders do have good weapons. They've definitely Terry McLaurin heavy. Jayden Daniels is a star, but all the other players I would say that they have are good players. At best, Commanders fans, you might disagree with me on that. Let me know. I think your running back room is good, not great. I think your other receivers outside of Terry McLaurin are good, not great. I feel like Drake London is in between great and good, and I feel like a lot of our other guys are good at best. You know what I mean? Like if Darnell Mooney's our number one guy going into Sunday night, I think that's going to be tough. It's going to be.
And tough. I don't want to overreact to a start, Michael Penix's first start, where it was a limited sample size because they didn't ask him to do a whole lot. Like you were playing the Giants. The Giants gave you guys 14 points off of interceptions alone. Like it was not really a competitive game. And so for me, I look at this and this is a real test. This is a real defense. Dan Quinn is going to dial up some stuff that Michael Penix has not seen before. And that's why I like to kind of get into predictions here. With Drake London, if he does play, he's not going to be at 100%. And I don't feel like I trust this Falcons offense coming out of that game in the sense of like, this is a primetime road game with a rookie quarterback making his second ever start against a seasoned defensive-minded head coach who has the offensive rookie of the year on the other side of the ball, who is just a natural for making plays that just lit up one of the best defenses in football. So for me, I'm going to go with Washington. I think this is a really tough matchup for the Falcons. And so I think the Commanders come out ahead in this one. So sorry. I think
that's fine. Yeah. You're probably right. I'm going to go with Atlanta. I'm going to be rooting for them anyways. And so I think there's one saving grace. If there's a trouble that this Washington team has, is it does trouble with tough defensive interior matchups. Even today, like I know Washington had 113 rushing yards. Jayden Daniels had 81 of those. Brian Robinson Jr. only went 10 for 24. And that's not new to this Washington team against Philadelphia, because like that's what happened in their first matchup is they were just not able to run the ball. A lot of interior pressure. And I think one of the things, to your point earlier, is since the bye, we have been able to be very effective with our defensive tackles, Grady Jarrett, Contavious Street. I think we're going to provide a lot of interior pressure. Arnold Ebiketie has come out strong as well. I think he's benefited from that just improved play from our defensive tackles. Matt Judon is also still feisty and getting after it as well. So I think we'll be able to kind of make them one-dimensional in this game. And I think it's going to be a very fun match between Terry McLaurin and AJ Terrell. There's a lot of other players as well. I know I said earlier about Washington. They fit really well within the system. And so our secondary is still going to have to play really well to slow down Jayden Daniels and this team. I do think our defensive line, they've been playing significantly better since the bye. I think we can cause some fits. And I say all that too. I'm going to be rooting for them anyways. And so I think the big X factor to me, we haven't really said his name that much. I bet this is a coming out party for Bijan Robinson. I know everybody already knows who he is, but he has slowly been having like a phenomenal season. I think he's already at he at 1,000 yards now.
Yeah, he has 1,100 on ESPN. So I don't know if that includes today or not, but
it might. It might already include. I feel like he hasn't had that game yet though, where he is just taken over. Like he's done really well. He's very methodical. He's got a good average. Like today, he even had 4.3 average yards per rush, 5.7 against the Raiders as well, 4.2 against Minnesota. I think this could be a game where I think he could take off. I think he could have 150 plus rushing yards, and because they're going to be relying on him a lot early on through the scheming, trying to take the load off Michael Penix, setting Michael Penix up for success. And I think Bijan could have a really good game today.
He has almost 1,200 yards this year so far.
Yeah,
with 2 games to go.
With 2 games to go. So I think as we saw what Saquon did to them, Bijan hasn't really had too many of those breakout like 40-yard rushing touchdowns so far this season. I think he can do that on Sunday night. I think that's going to be the difference. So I'm going to go with Atlanta. I'm probably wrong. I understand that they're fully the underdogs here going into this matchup. So, but I'm going to be rooting for them anyways.
All right. Well, I'm taking the Commanders. You're taking the Falcons. I wonder why. But let's go ahead and wrap it up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Atlanta Falcons? Will it be the Washington Commanders? And other than that, we'll see you guys next time.